All right, welcome back to the 2002-2003 32 team franchise. Um, the regular season has ended. We have gone through all 16 games, all 17 weeks, and we're just going to take a look at the league standings, the schedule, playoff schedule, stats, and whatnot. So we'll just get right into this. We'll start with the standings for each division. We start with on the AFC side. So the AFC East was won by the New England Patriots, who finished 13-3 and the one seed in the AFC. The Jets came in second for a chance there. Looked like they maybe had a chance to win the AFC East, but they had a really bad end of the year, finish out 9-7 and missed the playoffs. Um, Miami in third place, not a great team. Had a decent defense. Mark Bulger couldn't hold it together. Got traded there around midseason. And then the Buffalo Bills, who were one of the worst teams in the NFL for a majority of the year, but had a very good end of the year. Won two straight to end it, including beating the Packers. And they finished 5-11. Drew Bledsoe, really good end of the year. So that's the AFC East. Nothing much. New England kind of held it together for most of the year. Looked like the Jets had a chance at some point, but did anyone expect New England not to win it? Let's be real. AFC North was very close throughout the year. Looked like the Browns were going to run away with it. Then it looked like the Steelers would run away with it. Then the Ravens ended up winning it at 11-5. It came down to the week 17 matchup between the Ravens and Steelers. If the Steelers would have won, they would have won the division. Um, if the Ravens would have lost, the Steelers would have won the division, but I think the Ravens still would have made the playoffs. So the Steelers the Ravens ended up winning the division. A pretty good year for them. One of the best defenses, one of the most talented defenses in the NFL. They finished 11-5, even though Jeff Blake as their quarterback isn't great. Maybe that defense can take them somewhere in the playoffs as the two seed. They are the two seed, so they will have a first round bye. But then you have Pittsburgh, who finished 9-7, 7-1 at home, which was the best home record of any team in the NFL by one game. I think you just take a look. Philly went 6-2 at home, so did New England. So they had the best home record. They were undefeated going into the last game of the year. Then they lost to Baltimore on a missed field goal. They could have had a field goal to tie it up, but Pittsburgh missed it and Baltimore won. Um, they started out pretty bad, but then they got it together, won like five straight games, were 9-5. Then they lost to the Bucks and Philly, or not Philly, they lost to Baltimore. So they missed the playoffs at 9-7 as the second place team in the AFC North. Then the Browns finished 8-8. Tim Couch was their quarterback for all of the year. He got benched in one of the games, but he started all 16 games. And I don't know if he'll be back with the Browns. He had a pretty subpar year. Um, threw more interceptions than touchdowns, I'm pretty sure. And they finished out on a three-game losing streak. They were 8-5. Now they're 8-8. So they missed it. They ended up missing the playoffs. And I don't know what they're gonna do at the quarterback position if they bring Couch and bring some other competition in. But they are 8-8. Then you have the Bengals, who finished 7-9, much better than they did in real life. They went 2-14 in real life, I think, and got number one overall pick, landed Carson Palmer. This time they will not land Carson Palmer, unless something crazy happens. They finished 7-9, fourth in the North. AFC South, Tennessee wins it on a five-game win streak. The Colts come in second and do make the playoffs. The Titans and Colts will actually play each other in the playoffs, wild card weekend. The Jags started out 0-5, then went to 6-5, and then lost five straight and finished 6-10. And Houston finishes as the worst team in the AFC. They will have the first pick of an AFC team at 5-11. AFC West came down to the last week of the year where the Raiders and Chargers were up for it, and the Raiders ended up winning it. They won, and the Chargers won. I got it wrong. I thought if the Chargers won, they would have won the division, but they didn't because the Raiders they split the series 1-1, and the Raiders and Chargers have the same division record, so it went down to conference record. where the Raiders had a better conference record by a game. So the Raiders make the playoffs and win the division at 10-6 after starting out 4-6. They win 6 straight, end up making the playoffs. San Diego Chargers make the playoffs at 10-6 as a wild card team. Denver ends up missing it. They looked like they were going to win it. They looked as one of the best teams. They beat New England. They looked really good. And here they are, 9-6-1, third in the division, the first team out of the playoffs in the AFC. And then you have Kansas City, finish 8-8. They were 8-6. They finished on a 2-game losing streak. Nothing much going on there other than, I mean, Tony Gonzalez came back and they weren't able to win their final 2 games. Then look at the NFC side. We'll start out with the NFC East. Philly, from the beginning to end, dominated the division, 13-3, the 1 seed. Um, I mean, they're good. That's all it is. They're one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best team in the NFC, 1 seed. Then you have Dallas. Dallas with an up and down year, started out 0-3, then it was 4-3, then it was 4-7, then won 5 straight, finished 9-7, get that 6 seed in the NFC on a 5-game winning streak, including beating Philly in Week 16. When Philly played their starters, they'd clinched the 1 seed. Philly played their starters to try to, knock Dallas down. Didn't matter. Dallas ended up beating them. They came played out with fire. Washington, New York both finished 6-10. Excuse me. Um, they weren't nothing going on there. They're both not very good. NFC North, Green Bay won it. Looked like Detroit had a chance there for a second. They were 5-3, but they lost 6 games, and then they won 2 to end it. But Detroit had a chance, but they just fell apart midseason. Minnesota, one of the most talented teams in the league, overall rise, just sucked. They just weren't good. They were 5-6. Looked like they had a chance at that 6 seed because it was a bunch of weak teams at the time, and they didn't. They lost all their games after that. Finished 5-11, and then the Bears, as one of the worst teams in the AFC or NFC, finish 4-12. They're just nothing good. Jim Miller, Chris Chandler, both suck. NFC South, Tampa Bay, who was 3-5 on an 8-game winning streak, wins their division. The Panthers and Falcons both finished 7-9, and the Saints at 5-11. Aaron Brooks had a really good year for the Saints. Atlanta needs a lot of help on offense. Carolina needs a quarterback. And the NFC West, that came down to the final game of the year between the Rams and 49ers. The winner won the division, and it was the Rams that ended up winning it, so they won the NFC West at 11-5, while San Fran went to 9-6-1, and will play the Packers in the first round of the playoffs. Arizona 5-11, Seattle 3-13. Seattle will probably land Carson Palmer number 1 as they bench Matt Hasselbeck in the last week of the year. So he'll probably not get re-signed and he'll hit free agency. Arizona, I don't know what they're going to do with Jake Plummer because they also benched him in the final game of the year, but Josh McCown did not play good. He threw 2 picks. So I doubt they get rid of Plummer because he actually had a pretty good season. So that's the standings for each division, conference. Here it is. Take a look at this, and then the league. This is like the top 10 draft order wise. Seattle, Chicago, Houston, Buffalo, Minnesota, the Saints, the Cardinals, the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Red Wolves. Um, that's like the top 10-ish. Sorry. Uh, Buffalo doesn't even have their pick, so that's New England picking number 4 for Buffalo, which will be interesting. But we can look at the wildcard weekend schedule. Ignore this Broncos Ravens game and the Rams Lions game. These games won't be played because these are the 2 seeds, and there's no way to get rid of the 7 playoffs. So they won't be played. So it's Cowboys Buccaneers, 49ers Packers on Saturday. And on Sunday is Chargers Raiders, Colts Titans. So both in the AFC is division matchups between the Chargers and Raiders and the Colts and Titans. And then the NFC, Cowboys Buccaneers will be a good game. 49ers Packers, that's a big rivalry. That'll be a good game. So some good playoff wildcard games. Which interesting to see how low shape up. And then you got the Ravens and the Rams who got the bye weeks. So that's it for the records teams. We can look at the power rankings and the offensive defensive rankings going into, well, I mean, the season's over, so. Power rankings: Rams, Patriots, Eagles, Buccaneers, Colts, Ravens, Titans, Chargers, Raiders, Packers, 49ers. That is, and then Dallas as 15, even though they are a playoff team. So those are the playoff team rankings. Denver was 12, Pittsburgh 13, New York. There's Kansas City, Cleveland at 19, and Chicago was the worst. Seattle was even the worst ranked team. Offensively, the Rams, Colts, Packers, Titans, New England, Denver, Philly, Seattle, Tampa, San Fran. Who was the worst playoff team? Playoff offense, they say it was the Chargers at 25. And then the Cardinals had the worst. Um, so there's all that. I don't know what's happening. Or it like pops up like that. It's annoying, but it's whatever. We look at defensive. Tampa Bay has probably the best defense in the league to play with, and stats wise. Green Bay is second, Kansas City 3, Dallas 4, Baltimore, Philly, Miami, Oakland, New England, Cincy, Tennessee, Cleveland. There's San Fran. Who has the worst defense in the playoffs? It is the Rams. Their defense is atrocious. Their offense is gonna have, excuse me, their offense is gonna have to carry them throughout the playoffs, and they probably can. We can go in and start looking at. I mean, those are the rankings. So let's look at the stats throughout the league. So, okay, here are your stat leaders. Peyton Manning goes for 5,019 yards. These are the passing leaders. So to use your passing leaders: Manning, Kurt Warner, Jeff Garcia, Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Brian Greasy, Steve McNair are all 4,000 passing club. And Peyton Manning, well, I guess Peyton Manning's the 5,000 passing club, the only guy to get there, which is really good for him. Kerry Collins, Rich Gannon, Brad Johnson round out the top 10. Aaron Brooks is there. John Kitna's there. Let me hear. Here's Randy Faznani, AJ Feely, who started Week 17. Trent Dilfer, Josh McCown, Van Pelt came in one game where Bledsoe got hurt. See, there's Matt Hasselbeck. I don't. He'll be a big free agent, and so will Jeff Garcia. He's an impending free agent. I don't know if San Fran will bring him back. That'll be an interesting part of the offseason to see where he ends up. Touchdown leaders. Brett Favre goes for 40. Peyton Manning goes for 38. Kurt Warner 37. Garcia 36. Tom Brady 35. Brad Johnson 34. Brooks 34. Steve McNair 33. And that is the 30 passing 30 plus passing touchdowns. McNabb is there, Garrard is there, Culpepper's there. Garrard actually broke in for 2002 broke the rookie amount of passing touchdowns at 29. So that is really good. Drew Bledsoe had 24. A lot of those came in the last 2 weeks of the year. And you just scroll here and got a couple fullbacks, had some fake punts there. Two attempts, two fake punt attempts for Washington. They didn't get a single one. So there's Jeff Blake. Not a very good year. Interceptions: David Carr, Kerry Collins, and let me pull this up. Tim Couch. Here's his stats. They don't pop up in the franchise viewer, but those are Tim Couch's stats. 20 interceptions, 18 touchdowns, 3,779 yards. Um, so I just thought I'd pull that up just for reference. So he's part of the 20 interception. David Carr, Gary Collins, Tim Couch, and Steve McNair. Jeff Garcia threw a lot. Michael Vick threw a lot. Harrington threw a lot. Manning threw 15. Brady threw a decent amount. He threw 14. McNabb threw 12. Cunningham threw 11. And that's for that. And then sacks was Joe Harrington was sacked the most. Not David Carr. A different rookie this time was Joey Harrington. So Hopefully they can build an offensive line for him. And then quarterback rating from a starter was Brett Favre by about 3 points. Kurt Warner second. So those are the passing leaders, and we can move on to rushing now. The rushing leader was Marshall Faulk. Most yards, most touchdowns, most attempts. I want to say most attempts. Most attempts. Great year for him. Curtis Martin had a good year. Eddie George, Reese Holmes, LT. Stephen Davis had a really good year. Clinton Portis did as well. Just take a look at all these guys. Michael Vick, there he is. He was the Falcons' leading rusher, 730 yards or 80 yards. Kevin Falk for New England. Kevin Barlow. Garrison Hurst got hurt a lot, so Kevin Barlow got a lot of those carries. Had 8 touchdowns. Stacy Mack and Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor also got hurt at one point. Lamont Jordan had 4 touchdowns. And then you see a lot of these quarterbacks that don't really matter. Ryan Corbett had 7 carries. So there's that. Touchdowns. Curtis Martin, Marshall Faulk, Curtis Martin, Corey Dillon, Edgerrin James, LT. 20 plus runs. LT and Faulk both had 14. Receiving wise, the receptions leader was Marvin Harrison with 113. Steve Smith had 107. Keyshawn Johnson had 104. Those are the 100 receptives plus. Andre Davis, rookie, 90 catches, 1,194 yards, 5 touchdowns. Probably the best rookie wide receiver. A lot of 1,000-yard guys, 26. Just take a look at that. Chris Carter at his old age with Miami. Hines Ward, Terrence Mathis both had good years, and so did this. I don't know if he's here in the. I don't know if he pops up in here, but Plaxico Burress had a pretty good year. But we'll just skim through all these because there's so many. There's Jerry Rice. He was hurt for a lot of the year. I think he still is hurt. No, he's back for the playoffs, which is huge. He'll be back for the playoffs. Oh no, there's Plaxico Burress. Yeah, he had a good year. And then we'll just keep scrolling. And that's all there's Azir Hakeem. So good year for those guys. The best tight end was Billy Miller, I guess. Well, because yeah, Jeremy Sharkey as well, but Tony Gonzalez ended up getting hurt. Tackle leader was Jeremiah Trotter. Brian Urlacher got a bunch. James Ferrier. Just take a look. Takeo Spikes. Ray Lewis is there. Lawyer Malloy. Teddy Bruschi, Otis Smith. Just John Lynch. Take a look. The 100, we look at the sacks leaders. Patrick Kearney takes it with 16 and a half. Willie McGinnis 13. Cal Carter 12 and a half. Strahan 11 and a half. Sapp 11. So there's that. Junior Sale 7 and a half. Oops, I mean to go so fast there. Mo Lewis with 4. Interceptions. Damian Robinson, Tony Parrish, Troy Vincent, Charles Woodson, and Jeff Burris had the most. Top 5. A lot of interceptions. It's different for Man 20, so I threw a lot. A lot of guys with 3. A lot of guys with 2. And then touchdowns. Who had the most touchdowns? Offensive touchdowns. Patrick Kearney had the most, so he had a really good season. And then kicking, most field goals attempted, David Akers. He had the best percentage as well. You just take a look at this. Just scroll through, and then also just scroll through punting, because neither one really matters. Punters are people too, but it really doesn't matter. And then returns, we'll skim through this. So, I mean, what else can we? Not much else to look at. Um, the players of the weeks, there they are from week 17. So, I mean, that's all there really is at the end of the day. Uh, the playoffs will be here. Oh, we can look at the injury report, I guess, for the playoffs. I mean, the playoffs will be here. Off season soon. Um, yeah. So there it is.